Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the April 24th BOCC workshop. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First off on our agenda today, we have a presentation by AC Power LLC regarding the development of a solar project on a closed Montezuma County landfill. And with that, Mel, come on up. Mel is our landfill manager, and I think online we have Corey Hinden and John Baker. So with that, guys, I'm going to let you kick it off.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for the opportunity to go over this today. Reaching out just because the landfill in Montezuma looks like a very strong candidate for solar development, and AC Power is a solar developer exclusively focused on previously disturbed sites like landfills and brownfields. So we came across this site just thinking it was a strong candidate for solar development and wanted to just start the conversation with you. So thank you for giving us the platform to speak with you all today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We've prepared some materials, but we could just walk through that pretty quickly, and from there we could open it up to questions. I am getting a message that the host disabled screen sharing. I don't know if there's a way to briefly change the settings here so I'd be able to share it.
We'll get that done here in just a minute, Corey.
Thank you.
Because all you have to do is make him the host, Travis.
Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay. So we can just jump right into it here. This is just a photo of one of our projects. It's sited on another landfill in New Jersey. Quick agenda. We can go through an introduction, just who we are and what the opportunity is here. A bit about our background, some basics about solar on landfill sites, and then a proposal with a timeline of a prospective project development and some next steps. So first here, just background on us. We are a mission-driven company and a woman-owned business. Our mission is to repurpose closed landfills, superfunded brownfield sites, reclaimed mine lands, any kind of land that can't be put back into productive reuse. So really any land other than greenfield land that could be used for farming. And we're particularly attracted to sites with kind of histories of environmental disturbance, and we find that pairing solar with these sites can help the long-term operations and maintenance plan of that site, and it can help really strengthen the landowner or whoever's using the land's commitment to following environmental remediation protocols. So as of now, we are either developing or have developed 30 sites totaling 178 megawatts, and every single one of those sites is a previously disturbed property. So it's the only type of project that we work on. Here's just a little bit about our values and skills. You can see in the photo that's Annika Colston, who is our founder and president, shaking hands with the mayor at one of our sites. That was when they opened the project for construction. We really develop everything up from the initial concept to construction. We have a very deep bench of both solar experts and environmental experts. We have people with decades of experience working in the waste field and who know kind of the unique needs associated with these sites. Few basics about solar on landfills. So it is very similar to developing a solar system elsewhere, with the very significant exception that we need to work every aspect of a project's design is with the idea in mind that we need to protect the landfill cap and abide by its O&M plan, its operations and maintenance plan. So that means we can't have any kind of penetrations or drive poles into the ground. We use fully ballasted racking. So you could see here that the racking goes into basically vats or containers where you can pour cement into the containers. So it's basically cement slabs that weigh down the project as opposed to driving poles into the ground. It makes it slightly more costly compared to any kind of pole-driven racking system. But we find that the pairing makes a lot of sense here, and there's now quite a bit of federal incentives to be developing projects on these types of properties. We approved the solar facility through a very intensive permitting project, not just locally. Likely we would be working with the county on this, but also with the relevant Colorado and federal agencies. And the lifespan of the solar facility is typically around 30 to 35 years. But, you know, in the field, the projects that exist right now are significantly younger than that, mostly. The industry itself and most projects like this started really to take off around 20 years ago. So we're seeing that those projects are still kind of continuing to perform in the field and continue to be, you know, long-term kind of secure, bankable projects. So there's a chance the operating lifespan could last quite a bit longer than that. So why solar? I mentioned some of this before. It is clean, reliable, and produces affordable energy for the community, especially if you engage some kind of community solar incentive, which I'll get into shortly. It brings the landfill land back to revenue generating years. So I think what we could do for the county is generate property tax revenue, and we can, you know, bring something that is, as of right now, has just very limited economic value to something that really benefits the county and its stakeholders. Lastly is job generation and site beautification. I think this plays very well with a lot of our other municipal partners and the communities that host the projects that we've developed to date. We've found ways to engage the entire community and make, you know, multiple stakeholders, be it the people working on the construction, the people who end up using the energy for the project, and others. It helps them kind of be engaged and benefit both economically and through other benefits that we could create through the construction process. Next slide, I just want to touch on community solar. So in Colorado, there is community solar policies in XL territory. I know that Montezuma is under the Empire Electric Association municipal utility territory. So this is not something that's been kind of implemented yet, but it's something we would look to advocate for with the county and a lot of other folks around the country and in municipal electric utility territories have been able to work towards tenable solutions with the electric utility to implement a kind of policy that works. But generally under community solar, you can generate credits from the solar system that can be allocated to benefit residential ratepayers in your community. So really any of the folks sitting in the room right now who you know live in Montezuma County and pay an electric bill with EEA would be able to benefit from this. They could subscribe to the project, and typically they would save around 10% compared to what they're currently paid on the electric bill. That's kind of the model that many communities, many states, and utilities are moving forward with around the country, and it's something we would advocate for this project. Assuming that wouldn't be possible, we could then work towards selling the energy directly back to the utility and other structures, but our plan would be to really advocate for this model because we think it's kind of a win-win for the community and makes it more tenable to host the project. And this is just a brief overview of what the project would look like. This is what we believe to be the potential on site. So it's about 10 megawatts DC. You can see we're developing as much as the landfill space as possible. And we are able to offer around $6,485 per megawatt DC based on our initial desktop analysis of the site. We're typically looking at, topographical maps that we could find online, a slope analysis, a wetlands and floodplain analysis. We look at the interconnection capacity. Typically, I think we would have to work with the utility more for that. Our next step, if you were interested in evaluating this further, would be to run more on-site diligence and a little more analysis with some more depth and likely some more upfront costs associated with it, which we would be willing to do at no cost or obligation to the county. We would just need some kind of level of additional commitment from you that you would, be interested in seeing some of that more in-depth analysis. But we could talk about that further once we're done here. This is just a lease table, just kind of showing what the cash flows would be for 35 years. So it would be about 10 megawatts for the system itself. We would offer a lease payment of $6,485 per megawatt in year one. And then from there would be a 1.5% escalator per year. And that results in the following cash flows. So we lay it out for 25, 30, and 35 years. And also while we're running due diligence on the project during what we call the development period, just making sure the project works from a technical standpoint and working with the utility and such, we would offer a payment of $1,500 per quarter. It's more of just a show of good faith that we intend to move forward with the project and want to keep everybody engaged. So this is our indicative lease offer. I would say it's subject to change based on what incentives are available at the time of basically a go or no go decision once we've run the additional diligence, but we wanted to lay it out here. I'll also send a copy of this. I believe we did send a copy of this presentation over the weekend, but I think if anyone else wants access to this, we could send you the slides later on. Here we have an expected timeline. I will just kind of caveat this by saying we would be waiting for guidance from the utility on whether there would be a community solar program in place or things like that. And we want to feel out whether there's going to be initial incentive or any additional incentives coming out. And sometimes you're beholden to kind of timelines that are out of your control to be able to secure permits or approval for incentives. But this is generally what a timeline looks like if we are mostly in control of the timeline for the project. So assuming no kind of delays or waiting periods that are outside of our control, we would look to develop the project in as quickly as 2 years. I could send this to you again after the meeting rather than run through it, but we do kind of a step-by-step process that gets more and more cost intensive over time. And we find that that's the best way to do it because we can have kind of earnest conversations about how committed the county would be to developing the project. The more and more we uncover costs, we could kind of reframe our lease proposal. So if we uncover more positive economics, we would share that with you via a improved lease offer, and vice versa. If we uncover areas where we have unexpected costs, we would need to adjust the lease offer accordingly there. So that's just the way we do things. We're very transparent and want to just keep a dialogue going. But we find that this is the best way to run through the project development process. And it allows for us to continuously kind of make decisions together over the course of that timeline. And then in terms of next steps, this is really all we're able to do at this stage. We provided a proposal to the county, but the next stage would be to execute a non-binding optional lease agreement. It's essentially the minimum amount of commitment we would need from you in order to work with the electric utility and the regulatory bodies that in charge of permitting on the county's behalf. So it allows us to kind of do that work for you up front. And we would, again, be doing that at no cost or obligation to the county. It provides off-ramps for both Montezuma and AC Power should fatal flaws be discovered through the diligence process. So it's not necessarily a commitment to develop anything, but it is more of a commitment to kind of move forward in good faith and authorize us to outlay this capital and start that further diligence process. And then, like I said, we have an initial diligence period of 6 months where we kind of rule out most of the fatal flaws. And then from there, we would make a payment of $1,500 per quarter for the rest of the development period. So as soon as, if you were interested in moving forward, once we execute that agreement, we could start right away and do some of that more intensive permitting and interconnection application. So here I've just left room for questions. I can pause sharing for now.
So Corey, I have a couple questions here for you. So the picture that you showed for the placement of this solar field, that's actually in our Carver field, which right now we have slated for composting. So we're developing that for composting as we speak. I believe they're down there moving dirt. So my question to you is, can we move straight to the south of that main road on a 40-acre piece, which is the old sanitation landfill, which is ours now? But if you go just directly south of that, there's a little road that kind of splits that property. There's a 15-acre piece to the east, to the west, and a 25-acre piece to the east of that little road as it goes into that shooting range. 40 acres there total. Would that still be suitable?
Sure. Yeah, I think what I would ask is if you have any plans that you could share with us, just to kind of outline what the areas you would be most interested would be. That would be really helpful for us. And sure. I'll say that it would generally be the same kind of structure that I proposed in this presentation. It would just be kind of a different design, but overall very similar. And the only kind of restriction for us would be we do only develop previously disturbed properties. So we would hope that all that land as well is also technically previously disturbed and has served some kind of former use before its use currently.
Sure. And I'll let my manager speak here, but one thing I do want to say, I can answer this, is that yes, it was a previously disturbed landfill. It's been closed, and he can answer this, but several years now. We just have to the north of that road, we already have implemented a big composting project there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mel. I think he has a question for you also.
So if you can go back to the picture with your panels on the field that you're proposing?
You'll have to pull that
Sure.
closer, Mel. That mic.
Okay. Whoa,
Or wait, I think it's this picture, right?
no, next one. It's one that, the aerial photo.
Oh,
there.
right here. Yes.
Okay, so if you go straight south of that, there's
Yeah.
that road there at an angle. So what we're talking about is that area right there where you're running the mouse.
Yep.
The only issue, that is an old landfill. The only issue is, I think it's Western Power or something. Those massive power lines go right through that and just to the west of our shop and up that hill. And they have a 140-foot easement through there.
Sure.
But that whole
Okay.
area, it'd be more than just the old sanitation landfill. There's more acres there than just the 40. But it's not,
Sure.
the majority of it's flat. The ground to the west of that road is on a hill.
Got it. Okay. We would certainly be interested in taking a look, and we will as we typically do with all of the information that we have available to us online. But again, if you have any plans or anything you could share with us that would add any kind of additional context, I think that'd be extremely helpful. I guess from our side, our next step would be to revise the proposal based on the site that you're most interested in. But if you have any other additional kind of information on the site, that'd be super helpful for us. I did want to ask, you mentioned you're beginning the composting operation. Are you under a lease that's tying up the site long-term? And if so, I guess, what are the long-term plans with that composting operation? Do you have a lease that expires at a certain
No,
date?
we do not.
or-
The landfill owns all that property. It's owned by the
Got
county. And we started construction on that this morning. And
Okay.
it's a permanent deal with the landfill, so it'll be there as long as, even after they close the landfill, they can keep composting there for however long.
Sure. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I think I get where you're heading, Corey, and that's something that we can discuss later on. But I think that 10 megawatt system that you're talking about, the proposal, what type of acreage does that consume right now?
That's a good question. I think this is probably, and I don't have that number right in front of me, but I think it's around like 20 or probably 30 acres, I would say. It's probably 30 acres.
So we have plenty to the south that would accommodate 10 megawatts and possibly even larger, because there's quite a bit more acreage to the south of that road, that main road.
That would be great. And I think similar to that, like if we were able to build at a large enough scale, we could look at a utility scale project. So we thought, for this design, we thought it would make the most sense to do a project that interconnects into the distribution system. We thought the sizing was kind of perfect for that. But if there's significantly more land available, we could explore a utility scale system, which would be quite a bit larger, and it would be interconnected into the large infrastructure that you mentioned before that requires the easements at that site. I think there could be potentially an advantage in siting a project there, and potentially even looking at energy storage as well.
Okay.
So that's something we could explore in our follow-up proposal.
Great. And then the next question I had, anytime I ever hear this unintended costs, because I deal with the state all the time, and we get to hear unintended costs or unfunded mandates all the time, is what we call them, and it always perks my ears anytime I hear that language, unintended costs. So explain to me what unintended cost, after we start into this proposal, that could possibly show its head that would create an unintended cost.
Sure. I would not necessarily call it unintended costs, but I would say unknown costs. But I think the main one that we would be looking to investigate would be the interconnection cost. And that's kind of for any kind of solar project, that's the biggest unknown until you get into a substantial phase of the development process. So interconnection costs are generally you run a study with the utility to see if they can accommodate your solar project on the grid. And until you do that, you don't really have a true sense of what the costs of interconnecting into the grid are going to be. It is pretty much entirely up to the utility to tell you what the costs would be of potentially upgrading the infrastructure to accommodate your project. So that is the biggest unknown for us. We're kind of operating under assumptions based on similar projects that we've evaluated in the past, but it can vary pretty significantly. And in some cases, the costs can be so high that it would make the project uneconomical. So that is, when you talk about timelines, that process is on a first come, first served basis, and it's based on kind of capacity on the grid. And that's one of the reasons we would hope to move forward with the development process on the earlier side, because there is a lot of investment coming into Colorado. And I think a project even outside of this site, but potentially nearby in another neighborhood, could take up a lot of that capacity. So it is almost kind of a race to see who could secure the capacity on the site. But yeah, that is the biggest unknown with both, I guess, timing and budget considerations.
Okay. Well, that answered my question. The way you framed that originally, I hear that word too often, and it always makes me very, very leery. So
understood.
I had to ask the question.
I mean, we're not trying to. We don't want to be surprised either, essentially, but that is something we're constantly having to deal with, and that is just kind of the nature of the business. It's really that one unknown, but is a very significant unknown that we spend a lot of our time trying to understand.
Right. Understand that. Commissioners, question?
I guess my question is, in 25 or 30 years, when this thing is actually spent its life, who's going to take care of it?
Sure. Yeah, that's
I mean,
that's
to
an
me,
excellent
we've got
question.
to have some assurance that, because it sounds expensive to take care of one of these things when they've expended their lifetime. And we don't want to put that burden on Montezuma County.
Completely understand. I think, it's probably the most common concern amongst anyone we develop a project with. And all of our projects have in place a decommissioning plan. And it often involves paying decommissioning bonds up front. So you basically pay for bonds that rest in the hands of the landowner or the county. And once the bonds mature, it's typically lined up with the end of the project's life, and it helps decommission the site. So there are a lot of other kind of factors in detail for the decommissioning, but we, as part of our project, and usually at a very early stage of the project development, we will put together a detailed decommissioning plan that accounts for how anyone would go about decommissioning the site, the costs, and how it would be paid for.
Okay.
Corey, Kent Lindsay here. I just take it from your conversation that you haven't contacted Empire Electric or Tri-State Generation?
Yeah, we have not contacted them, mainly because we are not under contract with Montezuma County and the landowner. So I don't think we're actually legally allowed to do that at this stage. But we would look to, as soon as you were interested in moving forward, we would look to start that work, engaging with them. There are definitely a lot of unknowns on the interconnection side and on the community solar side, since they don't have a program in place there. So I would say the sooner we'd be able to work with them, the better.
they're a distributive co-op, not a muni.
Yep.
And they're contractually tied to Tri-State for a lot of years, but they also have a 5% limit on what can be generated outside. They also
Yeah.
they also do have a small community solar project in place and operational for, I think, 15 years now. So, and
Sure.
I don't think you're legally bound to keep from asking them. You can go ask anytime you want.
Gotcha.
That'd be a good place to start, because I would make sure that I had room for a project like that. And if you're talking utility scale, I would talk to Tri-State Generation. They may buy all your power.
Yeah, that would be the plan to move forward with, certainly. But I believe we do need some kind of authorization to have that conversation from you.
Okay, so really, we don't make decisions on workshops, Corey, so this would have to
Sure.
come in front of us tomorrow to make a determination. And it would just be a non-binding agreement at this point in time, just as the presentation stated, correct?
That's correct. So the way we usually move forward is with a optional lease agreement, and the only truly binding component of that agreement is exclusivity. So we don't want to do a lot of work up front and spend all that money up front for you to then develop a project with a different solar developer. That's frankly our only real concern at this stage. The rest, as you'll see, I'll send you a copy of the agreement, is very high level agreement with very little commitment required on both sides. And it really just allows us to start that initial development work. So
Okay,
I'll be
great.
sharing our template for that after, and you can feel free to just reach out if you have any questions.
sure, because as soon as we get that, obviously it'll have to go to our attorney, who's sitting up here
Sure.
with us. Obviously, we don't sign anything until it goes through our legal department.
Yeah,
Well, and certainly something that jumps out to me, obviously I haven't seen the agreement, but something that occurs to me is, you may run into trouble signing that kind of an agreement before this thing goes through the planning and zoning process.
Sure.
I think that signing that sort of agreement up front is kind of putting the ball before the horse, because ultimately you guys are a quasi-judicial body. You're going to have to consider a high-impact permit for this. And so to sign that kind of an agreement up front, that would maybe give me some pause. Obviously, the devil's going to be in the details with that agreement, but I just want to throw that out there.
No, correct. Yeah, we would have to still comply with our own land use code and go through the whole process.
You're also
Absolutely.
going to have to comply with CDPHE.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I got another question, bringing CDPHE up. That, the old sanitation district landfill south of that road, every 5 years, we have to do a methane survey in there. And they have to get a piece of equipment in there about the size of a skid steer and drill holes. We have to do that
Yeah.
every 5 years.
sure. Yeah, we have a lot of experience working on sites with similar operations and maintenance requirements, and we designed the system with the O&M plan in mind. So we would provide adequate access to the monitoring wells and anything else you would need to access to perform that work.
Well, there's no wells. The only thing would be the access for them to get their machine in there to drill the holes for the methane testing.
Yeah,
That's it.
Sure.
That's the only thing that ever
Sure.
goes across that property. Other than that main power line, they have that easement, and he just drives
Sure.
through there with a four-wheeler, so.
yep.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Corey, do you have anything else for us?
I don't, other than, I'll send you that template for our optional lease agreement, and I think it would be relatively similar, regardless of where we're putting the site. So I guess we could probably send that to you for your attorney to review. And in the meantime, if you have plans for the other land area you would want us to take a look at, we can do that and probably do both those things at the same time and plan to circle back in, a week or two, if that works.
Yeah, that would be great. That gives him time, so if you'd circle back in a couple weeks, that would be outstanding.
Excellent. Yeah, this was great, and thank you so much for having us on today. Really excited about the potential to work with you guys.
All right. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Any other questions, Mel? Okay. We'll get that passed on to Ian, and then we'll circle back in a couple weeks, so. Yeah. Okay, next up we have Julie Periman, Cortez Farmers Market request. So you can go anywhere you're most comfortable. Good afternoon.
Yeah, turn it on.
Turn it on and pull it as close as you can, because the people in TV land, they can't hear you real well if you're not speaking right into the mic.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm back. I got with the museum and talked to them. They took it to their board, and they voted on allowing us to have the back half of that parking lot for food trucks. They're actually excited about it. I've just come back to give you guys the letter. It points out a few things. One of the things that it points out is that we're hoping it will increase customer traffic to the Cortez Farmers Market. It'll highlight new and local food businesses. It creates a dining option for market patrons, increase invisibility for the Montezuma Heritage Museum, and things like that.
Can you pull up that? You also had a map.
Yeah,
or not
it's,
necessarily a map, but
it shows the whole parking lot. We're not asking for the whole parking lot. We're asking for the back half. Actually, we're asking for the back quarter of it is what we're looking at. We're only looking to put 4 food trucks in there. It shows the whole parking lot. It's not the whole parking lot that we're asking for.
so what part of the parking lot are you looking at then? Just
The southwest edge of that parking lot would be about where we put the food trucks.
okay.
It's about the last 4 parking spots is what it is. I think there might actually be more because it's the opposite direction.
Okay. How many vehicles do we move on Friday nights for this?
All of social services cars, and that's the location that we
We
put our,
put them all right
that's our
there,
overfill.
correct?
We don't have any other location to put them unless we took them to the senior center.
When I looked at it last summer, there was no social services parking right there. I watched it the whole summer just to make sure that we weren't encroaching on anybody at all.
Okay. Questions?
No, I have
I
to
mean-
stay out of this conversation. I may have a possible conflict. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I'll look to the left, not to the right.
So what regulations does the city have on these food trucks?
Now, you're going to
it-
probably have to answer that.
I
Because I think
I
that-
actually worked 2 years, and I finally got the ordinance changed to allow us to have food trucks on that site. They have changed their whole ordinance. It used to not be allowing any food trucks in the downtown business district, and they have changed it.
Okay, and then I think they're all inspected by public health anyway, so,
Correct, they're inspected. And then our regulations is that they actually have to be local in Montezuma and Dolores counties.
so let me ask you another question. This is just kind of way out there, but have you asked the city to close the street from Main Street to First Street and actually put them in the street? Because that,
We were going to try this first. We do have some other options that we were looking at. First Street right there, if I close it all the way, we'll close off,
or just to the alley?
well, that was my second option that I was going to ask, is it to the city if we just do the alley right there, where Dietrich, if I said their name right, just right there, and we would put him right there. But we thought that would be a nice spot to keep us all together, so to speak. But if you guys said no, we have other options that
Well,
we're going to look at.
I'm just looking at it because of the way the layout is, and I go to the farmer's market all the time, you almost separate them. if you put them out on the street, and I'm not telling you what to do at all, I'm just thinking that it would be a better flow, and there's typically not that much traffic on, typically, but that would be a city of Cortez decision, so.
Yeah, I can go back to him and ask him.
And I'm not saying that you have to, I'm just throwing out ideas also, so,
The worst one is that they put the alternate parking, the city, before we had everything changed, the ordinances changed, they were suggesting behind that building, that's
mhm.
right there, and that, you couldn't see that. That's where they were suggesting putting them, right there.
We had also offered the annex, because it's a much bigger parking area, and it's still only a block off of Main Street. Was there any consideration of that?
I took it to the members, and they like being on Main Street, is what they like. Being, seeable by Main Street.
Okay. Commissioner Copenafer.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Well, I guess then we'll count parking spaces and cars and see what we have to move. And obviously, we can't make a decision today. This is just a workshop.
Correct.
But we will have it on our agenda tomorrow, and we'll make a formal decision tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, next we have an LOS, Letter of Support to Crow Canyon. And we have Jennifer Peeso and Jeanne Becker? Jeannie Becker?
Yes, I'm Jeanne Becker. Yeah, Jennifer can't be here. She's out of town today. So I'm the advancement manager for Crow Canyon Archeological Center.
Ma'am, real quick, ma'am, you might have to push the button to make, there you go.
Sorry. I'll start again. I'm Jeanne Becker. I'm the advancement manager for Crow Canyon Archeological Center. And since 2017, Crow Canyon has been certified as an economic enterprise zone project, which provides incentives for our donors to provide support for Crow Canyon, and in return they get a reduction in their state income tax. And that's worked really well for us, and so we are asking to be recertified this year so that we have another 5-year recertification of this enterprise zone status. And in order to do that, we're asking for a letter of support from the county commissioners. Crow Canyon is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and for the past 40 years, we have met the economic development goals by encouraging tourism. We have hundreds of visitors who come to Crow Canyon each year for programs, cultural travel, research, and educational opportunities. And many times they stay at local hotels and definitely eat at local restaurants. For example, for our 40th anniversary this year, we've reserved a block of 90 hotel rooms in hotels right surrounding the conference center, the Cortez Conference Center, the Holiday Inn Express, and those hotels at that end of town for our 40th anniversary conference. And we're using the conference center for 2 big events that will bring in about 150 people on Friday and Saturday of the second weekend of October. We also have a policy of supporting local businesses. The Top Line installers are providing a new roof for our lodge this year. We do all of our printing with Brand Central and Pioneer Press for newsletters, annual reports, appeal letters, and all of our other printed needs. And we, of course, buy a lot of our food from City Market and other local food suppliers. We do professional development. We train rangers who come from Mesa Verde National Park, Arches, and Canyonlands. So we provide training to them, and we also train and provide work experiences for professional archaeologists. And finally, we're a significant employer in the county. We have over 30 full-time positions. During the COVID pandemic, we had a policy of not laying off a single employee during that period. And we pay competitive living wages and provide good benefits, which means we have a very high retention rate. So we feel that we're a really positive economic driver within the county, and we meet the requirements of the enterprise zone project. So we would appreciate your endorsing our recertification, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. Question?
I don't really. They've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward, and I mean, I think Montezuma County is all, I always get these mixed up, enterprise zone and opportunity zone, because
Yeah.
there's a little bit of difference there, but I specifically don't have any issues with this LOS at all right now.
Well, great.
So-
Well, thank you so much.
All right.
And
thank
Jeanne
you.
may be able to come here tomorrow. She's coming back from being out of town this evening, so
Okay.
I won't be here, but I know that today is the day that, we had the chance to make the presentation.
Sure,
So,
and it'll be on our unfinished business tomorrow, so that we'll be able to make a formal decision on it.
good. Well, thank
Okay.
you so much.
All right, thank you. Okay, next, we have another letter of support for the town of Dolores for an outdoor regional partnership initiative, and we have Mr. Kalin Grigg, who is one of the trustees in Dolores.
It's going to be a little old school here because I made you hard copies.
That's okay. Travis, do you have anything that you can display on the screen? We can see it, but a lot of times we like to make sure that the people viewing us on TV can also see us.
I don't have any, I just have a
Okay.
letter of support.
Okay,
Well, Elmo doesn't work anyway.
Right.
that's okay. You
Have to lay Elmo
you
off.
can still go ahead.
Well, thanks for having me. And thanks for your service, all of you, to the people in this area. This is, this describes the Colorado Outdoor Regional Partnership Initiative. It's an initiative that is probably about 3 years old. There is some work been done in the state that precedes the initiative that we're talking about, but this is about, I think 2020 maybe was when this was all formed, the partnership itself, the partnership initiative. And what it is it's funding that is available for regions of the state to form coalitions. The coalitions being made up of conservation folks, public land people, outdoor recreation users and groups, working lands people, to develop regional plans balancing outdoor recreation and the conservation of natural resources. And the model for this program was Chaffee County. Chaffee County has a project, a coalition that is supported by a bond issue at I think they have like $1 million a year. They support this project. And what Chaffee County did is they began to pull together people in a coalition to try to develop plans to address the issues that were coming up in Chaffee County because of the overwhelming growth of outdoor recreation. Their proximity to the metro Denver area and the Front Range, they were just getting hammered. Their natural resources just getting pounded. Their land, their water, their wildlife, it just stressing every natural system they had. So they developed a project similar to this, and then the Colorado Parks and Wildlife partnered with GOCO to get funding for a statewide project. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife every 5 years publishes a state comprehensive outdoor recreation plan to try to help manage outdoor recreation and natural resources in the state. And the brilliance, I think, of this initiative is they're so overwhelmed at the land manager level, the state level with some of this. They said we need to take this down to local regional level, have local regional groups create management plans, which will then be submitted and become part of the state plan. And if you look, and so that's what it's all about. And our area of the state, if you look on the last page of that handout I gave you, we're one of the, other than up in the Glenwood area, we in the southwest corner here are the remaining part of the western slope without a coalition participating in this project, in this initiative. La Plata County recently, in the last round of funding, submitted a proposal and got some capacity funding for developing a coalition, which is what our proposal is. The grant that I'm writing, the proposal I'm writing is to ask for some seed money, some capacity building money. And La Plata County, and I'm pretty sure the town of the city of Durango and with San Juan Mountains Association, I think, are the lead organizations over there. But they're just getting a project going. And I got a call from the director of this, the organizer, Judy, Kennedy, and she wanted to know if we would be interested in becoming part of participating with the La Plata County plan. And I said no, that if we were going to get involved with this, it would need to be homegrown here in Montezuma and Dolores County. So I told her that I was very interested in the project, and I would see if we could not get some support to go ahead and apply for some funds to build a coalition. Ken Charles and I have discussed this together a lot. We've talked to the town of Dolores about it. The town, Dolores is willing to be the fiscal agent to get this thing going. Our funding request would be, Mesa County just got $30,000. And their county commissioners, I think, are the lead agency in Mesa County, but they just got $30,000 to build a coalition, which is probably hiring somebody with the skills to bring together the diverse groups of people to help begin to develop, have the conversations necessary to build this kind of a regional plan. And that's what we're looking at this round is to request funds to do that, to hire somebody with the skills to do this. I don't know who that'll be. It'll need to be somebody pretty skilled at this, because you bring together groups of individuals and groups of people representing various interests from all over the region that we live in.
So you said that Mesa County, so if I look at this map, Mesa, Delta, and Montrose County are all in the same cooperating region?
Yep.
Is that how that reads?
Yep.
And then Uray County is by itself?
Right.
And then number 12, you have Saguache Mineral, Rio Grande, Alamosa, Castillo, and Conejos?
Yeah.
Are all one cooperating? So
All
you're
one.
saying the way this would be set up as Montezuma County would be its own entity by itself?
I'm suggesting Montezuma and Dolores counties as I think the game management units, GMU 71, 72, 73, and 711 is essentially this area we're looking at here. And it incorporates Montezuma and Dolores County, because that makes sense to me, because just the same way that the CPW manages wildlife in this whole management unit is because our natural resources are so interconnected with Dolores County, Montezuma County. What you go up the river valley, up all the way to San Miguel, up top of Lizard Head Pass. Our wildlife moves through that corridor. Our water, the connection of the glade to all of that. So my proposal would be that Montezuma and Dolores work together. Now I'm further along with you all than I am Dolores. Dolores commissioners are meeting today, and Linda Yellowman told me they were going to consider this request too. And initially, what we were looking for is just to get a letter of support.
Mm-hmm.
To
We
move-
actually have a Dolores County Commissioner in the room right now, so.
Oh, hi.
Anyway, just so that you're all aware of that, we actually have Dolores in the room right now, so.
Cool.
I guess, anyway, go ahead. You have any questions? Commissioner Copenhagen? So this letter of support basically just outlines, if I read it properly in the information that you've presented to us here, is that this is just a letter of support just to start this off to see if the application is even successful as far as putting together the first step. Dolores
Right.
would be the fiscal agent. This is nothing more than an LOS from Montezuma County, correct?
Nothing more than a what, Jim?
Letter of support, sorry.
Letters, oh, yeah. Yeah, I just didn't want to move ahead without you all. And it was my idea as I looked at this map, to think that we should work with Dolores County. I don't have
Sure, so
permission
this
to
could, I
represent
mean,
him.
we can't speak for Dolores County at all.
No.
So it
So
would
this
have
could
to-
very well, but I knew I didn't want to move ahead. We didn't want to move ahead with this without your support. The county commissioners of all of these projects are involved. The counties are involved in all of these, whether they're the lead agency or not. And probably about a third to half of them, I think the counties are the lead agency.
Okay.
So,
Well, it'd be easy enough to, I know all those commissioners in all those counties, it'd be real easy to make a couple phone calls and just kind of get some other information from them. So again, we can't make any decisions today. This
Sure.
is nothing more than a workshop. So it'll have to be placed for a final discussion and decision for tomorrow.
yeah.
But-
Yeah, and I think Travis has information, but if you are willing to put a letter of support in, we're going to try to, this has to be submitted Friday, and we'll probably submit it either way, but it would certainly be better going forward with a letter of support. And then if we get funding, then, and I think we will, by the way, if we get funding, we would, of course, start a process where you'd be very much involved in the process all along.
Okay,
That's the goal.
all right.
Good?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, moving right on down the line. Public Health. Miss Bobbi Locke.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So what we have here today is our immunization contract. And I've also brought our new public health nurse who, you've been with us for 9 months almost. So this is Julie Jacobson, and she does our immunization clinic. So if you have any specific questions about the immunizations, she can certainly answer them for you. But this contract is a core public function. We do this contract every year. It goes from July 1 to June 30 of next year. And it is for a total amount of $51,414 from the state. Most of it is from the state, and there's a percentage of that, portion of that that's federal funding, which is the $13,158. This funds our Vaccine for Children program, which is, and also our 317 funds, which are for uninsured and underinsured folks. So, do you all have any questions? And I can step aside if you have
I
some.
always have to look to my attorney when it comes to a contract, and when I tell him I've already signed it before he's looked at it and given me the final, then I get in a lot of trouble. Which I haven't.
Yeah. I looked it through. It's very consistent with most of the state contracts that we sign, and I don't have any issues with it.
And I did ask for an extension, so hopefully your DocuSign will not be expired
My
tomorrow.
DocuSign is still there. I'm
Okay,
checking
good.
it right now. I'm
Good.
just, again, waiting until tomorrow so
Right.
that we can actually,
Right.
as soon as these two guys say yay, then I can,
So, so Julie, she's been great. She's been a really good asset to our department. And so if you have any specific questions in regards to immunizations or just public health nursing, she can, I'm sure, answer them.
So at what level do they consider people to be underinsured?
Well, our, the VFC program, the Vaccine for Children, I don't know what that cutoff is, but if they have Medicaid or they do not have any insurance, we will go ahead and give them the VFC. If they do have private insurance or they're able to pay cash, then that would go over to our private fund.
so what is
The
it?
317 is the uninsured or underinsured
For adults.
for adults.
I'm sorry, what was that, 317?
Yeah.
300 and,
It's just kind of like VFC or private. It's just another label of 317, and it's for our adults. So instead of Medicaid, I mean, it would be Medicaid or no insurance for adults. We can provide vaccines.
so
for
what
adults.
typically, just if somebody was coming in to pay for it out of their own pocket, what do immunizations cost? I think is probably, maybe that's kind of where Commissioner Copenhaver was heading, because
Okay.
a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't even realize that the public health department exists in reality, don't understand why, but what does it cost? Where do we put those? Do we have those immunization costs on your website also? Okay.
No, and we elected not to because the prices have changed. We do an adjustment, and we look at it. We have a monthly immunization meeting, so we will look at costs of vaccines. We have just upped the prices, but anyone can call and we can give it to you. If you do not have insurance, we basically ask whatever you can pay. We have an administration fee that we can bill that's $21, so we ask for at least $20 per injection that we can offer, but we don't want to be a barrier to anybody getting vaccines, so we can also waive that fee.
What kind of numbers are we talking about? How many people we serve? Have any idea?
As far as
Vaccines?
Total kids, adults, how many vaccines you given a year?
So I did have a request a couple of months ago, and our report that came out for last year, greater than 65% of our community, as far as children, do receive vaccines, and we do it mostly through the VFC. Primarily, people are Medicaid or underinsured, so it would fall under the VFC.
I think that probably goes along with what Jeanne presents to us all the time here at Social Services of the underserved or underinsured.
Primarily, we see VFC or underinsured or no insurance clients.
Okay.
So just on page, let's see, it's Exhibit B. It talks about, in the top paragraph, it talks about Section 317 vaccines. We just refer to it as 317 just because it's a simplified version. But that talks about it's providing trying to decrease the barriers for adults to get vaccine. So if they are without insurance or underinsured, say it's an insurance company that doesn't cover a specific set of vaccines, then they would be underinsured. they're insured, but their insurance doesn't cover that vaccine. So they're underinsured. So that's where 317, funds are used for. It can't be used for the children. The VFC is for children only. So does that?
So this grant basically covers the cost of the vaccines and the distribution of them, or?
Administration of them.
Or administration?
Yeah. There's an administration fee attached to every vaccine, which basically pays for the time it takes to give the vaccine, the supplies needed to do it, and all that.
Right.
And then the state provides this vaccine to us for free, and we have to follow the rules and regs of that and the expectations, and that's what's written in this. So we have like quarterly reports, right, that we have to do for the state, which spells out, how many vaccines we've given and to what ages and all that stuff. So there's reportable things that we have to do as part of the deliverables for the scope of work. None of that is new. It's been that way forever.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions, Commissioner?
No, I don't.
Commissioner?
I was just reading here, the project is intended to convene the public and health professionals, reduce mortality and morbidity rates caused by vaccine preventable diseases, and protect the health of, is there any numbers on this? How could they predict that in any way?
Well, it goes back to what vaccines are really all about. Prior to polio vaccine, right? We had a lot of polio cases. There still can be polio cases, but we have herd immunity at this point because enough people have received the vaccine. So that's kind of the mentality of it, so that we don't have massive amounts of deaths from these diseases if they were to resurrect themselves, So, and there is a portion of population that don't get vaccinated, and what we do with parents, for instance, like that, we have conversations, we educate people. We have parents who don't want to do all of the vaccines at once that their child might be due for. We work with families. We'd rather them get vaccinated and work with them and their special requests than have them not vaccinated at all. So we do a lot of education. That's why we do appointments. Years ago, we didn't do appointments. It was just clinic day, and you came in, and sometimes you waited a long time for those appointments, Now we do appointments so that we can the nurse can actually sit down, spend time, educate, answer questions, provide information, and give a vaccine. So, or 2 or 3, depending on the age of the child and such. So we do a lot of prevention and education work in clinic. And we also link them to other services that we have or other institutions in the county have. So, with all the other programs that we do. So I don't have numbers for you as far as.
I don't even understand how they can get numbers, with that
Well,
statement.
I'll use the horrific term of COVID to give you an example of numbers, So, and I'm not tying immunizations into the COVID vaccine here. I'm just using that as an example of the process, okay, where, you have large amounts of people sick. Now you have the institution of a vaccine availability. Some people take up on that. Some people don't take up on that, but the amount of cases are going down, 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 and it's still there, but it's, same with polio, same with measles, mumps, they're still there, but they're in far lesser amounts. So I don't know if that answers
Depends
your
on
question.
which map you read,
I asked another
right?
No,
question.
We're not going
I
there.
won't go there. I won't go there. I'll stop. I did
So-
that.
Anything else you can think of?
At least it's good to see you guys smiling.
Yeah.
We can make a joke.
Well, and I wanted to bring Julie over. You haven't met her yet. I was gonna bring her to a Board of Health meeting, but I'm like, it's the contract that big part of what she does, and then she does a lot of the communicable disease
Well,
too.
that's
for us.
great. I appreciate
So,
it.
yeah.
I hope the last couple you've brought over to me, we've lost immediately, so I hope this does not,
Are you saying it's you?
no? Huh? I hope,
That's what I heard. Yeah, I know. Staff turnover is a real thing for a lot of employers right now. So, yeah. But Julie's sticking with us. I think I have it in writing.
I've heard that before too.
She's here.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
And
you.
we'll see you next time around.
Okay.
All right. Okay, next, we have a discussion with Dolores County on the Ormiston Pit. We have Commissioner Cook in the room, and I'm not sure, Mr. Davis? Davis. If you guys will come on, you can go wherever you want. Just pull the mic, turn it on, pull it as close to your mouth as you can possibly get it.
I'm not sure you want to hear me that good.
It's, we can hear you in the room just fine, but the people actually viewing it on TV are the ones that can't hear it, and then we get all kinds of emails saying, hey, we can't hear anybody, so we got to get you as close as you possibly can get.
Well, it's good to see y'all.
Yeah.
Haven't seen a couple of you since winter conference, so see Jim quite a bit at CCI.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I'm here to ask for is the continued cooperation between Montezuma and Dolores County on the ability to purchase rock from the Montezuma County pits for use on Dolores County roads. And I just got a feeling that might be in jeopardy somehow or another, and I don't want that to happen. We work very well together as neighboring counties, and we've actually set up a pit in Disappointment that's actually in San Miguel County. They let us go ahead and take the lease on that pit if we would crush them rocks. So we're doing, kind of what we've been doing with Montezuma County. And I just don't want to lose that opportunity to be able to purchase materials from Montezuma County for Dolores County roads. So that's basically what we're here for. And I think you're well aware of about every county road in this corner of the state needs some attention. And we just don't have the availability of the gravel to take care of everything we need to. So that's why I'm here.
I think basically, Floyd, and I had a conversation with you a couple weeks ago when this was presented to us, because what was presented to us came from, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a Forest Service through Montrose Forest Products because of the deterioration of the road from the Bradfield Bridge to County Road 16.
Right.
And like I told you on the phone, they asked us to donate 5,000 tons of material, which, I mean, that's a pretty far stretch. Number one, to donate it. Number two, to cross the jurisdictional line that we have no, it's not our, we don't make decisions for Dolores County, just as, we said earlier. That's, we try to stay within our own lane and obviously respect that.
And I think in our conversation, Jim, I told you straight up, if it was from Montezuma County and it was Dolores County, I'd say no. And that's what I expected you to do.
Yeah.
We was totally unaware of the Forest Service or Montrose Forest Products coming and asking for that from you. When I first heard about it was from you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way that we would do that for you, no more than you would do it for us. So that issue is, in my opinion, a non-issue. They messed up the roads. It's state statute that they got to fix them. So that's their problem, not mine. But we purchase rock from Montezuma County. We've even traded.
I think
with
we've
Montezuma.
traded. Since I've been here, I think there's only been a trade. I don't think we've ever had a purchase.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. But in
I-
the time frame that I've been here, There's
I'll
never
leave
been a
that one up to
purchase.
Steve. I know that when they come to us and say, well, we just traded Montezuma County a pickup for X amount of rock.
We did trade.
But I
Yes,
was,
I think a couple of years ago was the last time we'd done that, because we did have a vehicle, and Rob went ahead and took the vehicle.
That's correct. That was a couple years ago. That
Yes.
was present, or maybe was it before you started?
No, we traded, I remember the trade.
It was a trade. It was right. It was a couple of years ago. So yeah.
Years past, we've, traded with them.
Yes, and it's always worked out for both sides.
So-
really.
Very often.
no,
Here's
no.
the issue that I have with this one specifically, because one, the agreement that you guys have and our conversation that we had about this whole road, because it sounds like the presentation that we've had that was given to us was we needed this rock to fix this road for Dolores County, which was very peculiar that this road doesn't even exist in our county, and we're like, why are we even getting it? So we never made a formal decision based on it. One, because we're competing with private industry, and two, it's not our county. We don't even,
Right.
Yeah.
it's not even a decision we should be talking.
Right.
Um,
And that's,
so-
totally understandable. Just like I said, if we has presented the same question from the Forest Service to maintain a Montezuma County road, we'd have to say no, just for the same reasons you just spoke of. That's, but our relationship has always been good enough where we could work and buy or trade, however, materials from Montezuma County for Dolores County roads. I just want to continue that opportunity, not for any specific road, but just that opportunity, so when we need material and you have it available, that we have an opportunity to purchase materials from you for our roads.
Okay, and I'm not sure that was ever presented, and obviously we've never made a decision, a formal decision, based on that after that discussion. This one, obviously, I mean, for me, this one doesn't pass the front page news test of Montezuma County sells gravel to Dolores County to fix Montrose Forest Products Road. I mean,
Yes.
I struggle with that one just because of the agreement that I've seen. It's in front of us now. And as you guys wash your hands from it, it's like, we need to stay totally away from this.
And
There's just,
that's understandable, Jim. There's still, the way I understood it, the Forest Service is still trying to figure out how to provide materials for that.
I actually
and
talked to the
that's-
Forest Service today.
Yeah.
Derek is acting for the BLM, and we
Right.
have Shauna is acting for the Forest Service. So we're all kind of in this
It's
quandary
so-
of,
yeah,
of acting people. But there again, because we asked them, the question is like, why don't you just provide the material? You have material there. Leave us out of it as a county. It's coming off of your forest. I mean, we
Yes.
believe in what they're
Yes.
doing.
Sure.
And we want it to be successful, but that's coming off of your forest. Why can't you give it to Dolores
Exactly.
County? It's your material, and we leave our material to our taxpayers. And it just seemed like a lot cleaner and neater deal. So again, we can't make
If-
decisions today, but
Oh, I fully understand that. And not that I'm asking for materials for that road. But
Just to maintain the relationship we've had. in the
maintain the relationship that we've always had with Montezuma County in being able to purchase materials for our roads. This isn't for, I think Montrose Forest Products made a mistake. The Forest Service had shut the gates a week prior to when they tore up the road. So, in my opinion, that's pretty much solely on the Forest Service, even though from Bradfield Bridge for, I can't remember, a mile or 3/4 of a mile is BLM.
it is.
So,
Yeah.
we've got a right of way there, but even under state statutes, it says if you tear up a county road because of negligence or whatever, then they need to pay for the fix on that. And if they gotta go to Dolores to get the materials, so be it. But I don't want this issue to taint the relationship that we have and the ability that we have with Montezuma County to purchase materials when we need them. That's where I'm at, Jim. This other deal, it's its own animal. They need to fix the road, period.
Correct, and obviously you guys have an agreement with them? I mean,
We haven't
to
even
me,
got the
there's-
agreement signed, but Dolores
Signed,
County does
yeah.
not say we're gonna provide materials.
No,
Dolores
because
County
when I read
says
it, they're gonna provide all the
They're
material
gonna
to
provide
fix
all
it
of the
with your
materials to
supervision.
provide. Exactly.
And,
We haven't got a signature from them yet, because I think they're still grasping, trying to get a freebie or get the Forest Service to provide it. But this issue that's been brought up, you and I talked about it at CCI, we've had several conversations over it. I'm not saying we want to purchase material for that hill. That's, if we purchase it, then we purchase it and put it on the road, but we can't recover cost, right? I mean, then you're in direct competition with the local contractors.
correct, and we're gonna get,
And so that's not what I'm asking for, Jim.
Sure.
I just want to maintain the relationship we have with Montezuma County in the ability to purchase materials as we need them from Montezuma County for Dolores County Road.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Pretty straightforward then. I don't,
And we've had a good relationship. I mean, we help you guys help us out, try to save each county money. And that's all it's all about is trying to save a little bit of money here and there. And it's really worked out good for us. But I got kind of a disturbing letter last week saying that I don't know, was it Montrose Forestry that come and asked you guys for the money?
Actually,
or
it
was that
was-
the Forest Service?
it was the Forest
See, that's the
Service
first thing,
that-
that's the first time I heard about that, and I thought, well, no, they're not gonna do that. It's not
Well,
their
it was-
county. It's,
It was very odd for them to present to us something that's not even in our county, and we're like,
yeah, no.
that's why
you
it never
can't
came
do-
back to a
yeah.
formal decision for Tuesday.
Right.
And specifically after I talked to you, Floyd, I'm like, what is going on? Why are you guys even coming and talking to Montezuma County?
And why
Because
would the
we're-
Forest Service be representing Montrose Forest
Montrose-
Products
Yes.
in an ask for materials plumb out of the county? I mean, out of the county.
I don't know.
purview.
So, I mean,
So-
again, for us, it was like, this is not good. There's no good can come from this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking for myself. I'm not, I mean, these guys can speak up, but
It felt like they were placing us in between them, you, and us. It was all in the,
well, I get what they were trying to
Yeah,
do.
I
I think we understood that they were trying to help them to make it as cost effective as possible. But for us, we're also looking at when we start doing something like that, we're in direct competition with private industry, and that is not what government is supposed to do.
Yeah.
We are
And-
not to compete with private industry, and specifically out of our jurisdiction. So
Yeah.
we
Well,
just
and-
left it, and they did their presentation and walked away.
And, I think maybe part of that was that Ormiston Pit's in Dolores County. We
Mm-hmm.
don't own it. We don't manage it. We don't have a permit on it.
Right.
Montezuma County
We
does.
do.
And, when I think the agreements with the Forest Service on, you guys accessing that is to maintain the road, in and out of there when you're hauling, not
It-
any other time. Dolores
It
County
is. It is.
maintains it when you're not maintaining
Yep.
it. So maybe that's part of the confusion. I don't know, but it's just like I told you, Jim. I would say no if they came and asked Dolores County for materials for Montezuma County Road. Now, if Rob came to us and said, "Hey, we need to fix this road. It's our road. We'd like to buy materials from you." If we had the materials, we would afford him the same deal that he does us. I mean, but this is out of our hands. This isn't our issue. We got pictures and them saying, yes, that's our truck stuck in the middle of that hill. We accept the responsibility. Now, when that was said, I think they had talked to the Forest Service. Forest Service had told them, oh yeah, we can provide the materials. I think that was prior to the fact that they found out that's on BLM and county and the forest can't do that. I mean, that's, well, they may have a way around it and provide it, but that's just, I mean, that's their problem. If they got to go to, you know, Dolores and get stuff out of Hay Camp, whatever, that's their baby, not ours.
Sure, and
So-
that's kind of how we obviously saw it too. It's not,
Yeah,
it's not our issue at all, and we don't want to be tied to this
right.
anyway.
And nor do we want the liability of that either.
This is,
So-
I mean, Montrose Forest Products tore up the road, it's their responsibility to fix the road.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's that simple.
Yes,
And with your
yes.
agreement in place too. So for us, it seemed a very peculiar ask.
Yep,
And
I agree.
even more so for us just to
Yeah.
shy away from everything, to say, look, we don't want,
Well-
we're absolutely out of this, and we want nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I just, like I said, set this aside. That's not
Sure.
the issue at
That's-
this point.
yes.
Yeah.
Our issue is, are we still gonna be able to maintain agreement with Montezuma County to purchase materials for our roads?
I think that any time we take everything on a basis of one by one, Rob will bring it to us. Obviously, we set all the parameters of the fiduciary, just like you do. You set
Sure.
the price, not our road and bridge department. We set the price, just like you would, Floyd. And then you tell Steve and vice versa.
Yes.
But we, I mean, it's been 2 years since you guys have even had to have an ask, and I know that was just a trade.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
but I can tell you right now that this has convoluted everything just because of the perception of where this
What do you-
material would be
yes.
going.
yeah.
And
Well,
Yeah.
it would be a horrible perception that we could never dig ourselves out of that perception.
right.
No.
Well, and that.
And we wouldn't expect you to.
Yeah, that's why we're here today. That's why, you know, we just don't want the efforts of the Forest Service and Montrose wanting that material to affect what we do between the two counties.
Sure. And you know, like I said, I think we appreciate what the Forest Service is trying to do, but
Sure.
our perspective was, well, you guys just give them your material that we've crushed for you, because that's part of our agreement. And we do, our agreement says that we have to signage and maintain that portion of that road that we use when we're hauling out of there. So
Right.
that's our agreement. Then on your roads, we don't have an agreement. But,
Right, right.
But
And
we do take care of it. We water it.
Sure.
We blade it,
Yes,
and
yes.
we put proper
Montezuma
signage on
County
it.
is always taken care of. When you're hauling out of there, we don't ever question, you
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
that it's not being taken care of right. You know, this other deal, that's solely on Montrose Forest Products. They tried to drag other people into it that's been up there, but the pictures we have is of their trucks on our road buried,
Yeah.
period. A week after the Forest Service shut down the forest because of thawing conditions. I mean, how do you deny that?
Yeah.
So, but no, I think, you know,
Okay.
we want to continue relationships with Montezuma County, and I think that's,
We've
Our
been
biggest
good
interest.
neighbors. I mean, just about everything we've been involved in, you know, we've, you know, and Rob's been good to us. You know, he's come to you guys, you know, and asked you, and yeah, so, no, our relationships are good with Montezuma County. You know, on the county line, for example, between Dolores County and Montezuma County, we take care of them roads because it's so far for Montezuma's crew to come down to do it, so we do everything. We blade it, we plow snow, but it's just little things like that. And then our Schedule A roads, we've been trading them off, which is okay with the Forest Service as long as they get done. And we have to travel, mow a long ways, and Montezuma County's there, they'll just go ahead and do it, and we'll do the same with theirs. So it's just been a really good relationship that saved each county money, really.
Okay. All right. Any
Gentlemen,
question?
thank you for coming down.
well, thanks for listening to us. I didn't see us on the agenda, so I thought, ooh, maybe
Oh,
we're
no,
not here.
I
but-
got you there. Trust me, I always look to my right and I get this look of, hey, it's not on the agenda. You can't talk about anything.
Yeah,
So
But,
you're good.
Didn't give him the
I-
stink eye today.
I give my attorney a hard time because I like to.
well, that's what attorneys are for, I think. But it's probably pretty easy to give him a hard time anyway.
Oh, yeah, we love it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so.
What's the water flow in the river down your way?
You know, the last I heard, well, if I told you, I'd be lying, but I think it was somewhere, I mean, the release was like 100 CFS, but I don't know, you know, the influx that's coming in, and they're expecting probably a 2-month rafting season, so.
oh, wow. Well, that's,
You know, that's wonderful. Our river road washed out, so Steve's got a job to do to allow boaters in there, but
Who drove the motor grader to go rescue the rafters?
Oh, yeah, guys, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, we got some work ahead of us, and we don't
So
need
do
to
we.
be worrying about Bradfield. We need to worry about the river and our taxpayers' roads right now, so.
sure. And likewise, and that's what we're doing
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank
right.
you guys for coming down. I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for
listening to us.
listening to us. We
You bet.
appreciate it. And
Okay.
I think we'll get out of here. I got another meeting I missed, so.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys. Next on our agenda, we'll talk about a grant funding, titling, and property discussion. So Travis, I'll let you lead this one, or Ian.
So Ian and I worked together on this policy, and it's specifically related to grant funding and county property. Recently, we've seen some hiccups occurring as it relates to grant funding and county property, so we just wanted to kind of clarify and make sure that everybody's on the same page as it relates to this. And if Ian has anything else to add, then
Yeah, so really what this policy does is if Montezuma County receives a grant, it makes sure that money from that grant is gonna go to the treasurer, and then any expenditures of that grant funding of more than $1,000 will be approved by this board. What that'll do is it'll allow, if a grant comes through and say the road department gets a grant and they want to buy some sort of piece of equipment that's over $1,000. They'll come in, they'll present that purchase order to you or that request to you, and then you guys will approve it. It just makes sure that we don't have grant money flying around and being spent without your guys' knowledge, because ultimately, if Montezuma County is the grantee, then you guys should be allowed to divvy out that property. The other thing that it does is it just ensures that any property purchased with Montezuma County funds will be titled in Montezuma County's name. Pretty straightforward. So there's nothing real complicated or odd about this policy. It just kind of lays out those two things.
Okay.
And it just cleans up some of the issues that we've been having. So I think, one, I appreciate your guys' work on this. It's one thing about this one I like, that it was such a short policy that it was quick and easy, and everybody should be able to understand it in very short order. So, again, like Ian said, if it's the grantee is Montezuma County, it is Montezuma County. It's not any specific departments.
And most of the grants that we do get are going to be to Montezuma County. Now, it's important to understand, there may be grants floating out there that different divisions apply for or elected officials apply for that are going to go to those elected officials. Something that jumps out, there may be grants that say, for instance, the sheriff's office could get. And if the sheriff's office is the grantee, then that's not something that Montezuma County can manage. Now, the example would be, say the sheriff's office is able to secure some sort of a grant that the grantee is the sheriff's office that would allow for the purchase of side-by-sides. The sheriff manages that, but then come budget time, obviously you guys aren't going to be required to pay for side-by-sides. I mean, that's not gonna be an ask, because that's being taken care of. So it's just that distinction, and again, most of the grants we see are gonna come to Montezuma County, because most of those grants are designed for local government entities.
Question?
I don't have it, it's fine,
Okay,
it's fine.
thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along, we have Mr. Dietrich walked in the room. Come on down. And we're gonna discuss a cooperating agency agreement between the BLM as it refers to utility scale solar projects.
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
So I'm not 100% sure what the BLM is up to with this. When we got a notice that came out a few months back, I went ahead and signed us up as, registered us to possibly become a cooperating agency on this endeavor. My objective was really to just, because we've got solar projects, that have been proposed within the county, I thought it'd be worth listening in on this and just trying to figure out what was going on with it. So that is my objective, is really just to kind of listen in on the BLM's process and, to weigh in on it if it happens to affect Montezuma County, and if it doesn't, then there's nothing we need to worry about. I don't believe that we have any designated solar areas as far as the BLM goes within Montezuma County. Typically these things are designated over in the Mojave Desert, those kind of areas. However, we are on an energy corridor here. And again, if we wind up with a large solar farm that goes in virtually anywhere in the county, there could be a federal nexus if the transmission crosses federal lands. So again, I just wanted to listen in on it and try to stay abreast of what they're trying to do here. So that's the objective behind this MOU.
Yeah, we still have yet to see anything in our planning department from any solar project.
That's right. Yeah.
I think the key here is the word cooperating.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that we strive to always have, instead of just communication and coordination. This actually is cooperating,
Yes.
which means that we have to go by the guidelines that they've set forth, that they have to cooperate with us, so they can't, there has to be that communication take place as a cooperating agency. So I think it's critical, specifically when I look at that type of language. So I think it's a good thing. It may never affect us, but we should always be cooperating.
Yes, and
It's just
to
my
actually
opinion.
participate in the process, we have to be a cooperating agency. So, it's just a way to open the door so that you can sit in on the meetings. And if there's nothing that's that important for us, then that's fine. We want to try to catch as much of the stuff as it goes by as possible. There's a lot of federal actions going on, and just trying to stay on top of those as best we can that's what I'm trying to do here.
Okay. Well, this will be in front of us tomorrow.
Yes, I sure will.
I'm sure Ian has looked it all over, so if.
It's very consistent with the other
Okay.
cooperating agency agreements that we sign, and there's really no negative to this. It doesn't obligate us to anything other than to participate and play a role, and gives us a seat at the table is what it does.
Yes, that's right. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. That was my question.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Sounds
you,
good,
gentlemen.
James?
Yep.
All right. With that, we have come to the end of our agenda. And with that, gentlemen, we are adjourned.